Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Jalarzak, product development and marketing coach and mom of three. Learn from and get inspired by women entrepreneurs killing it in the product space. Each episode, we will share the latest trends, proven strategies, and inside secrets of the product world, all designed to give you greater confidence to create your own success through a product venture. Let's do this. Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. Today is a great episode for you productpreneurs. It's tax season, and so many of us are looking at our finances from the past year, and some of us for the first time. So there is no better time than now to discuss finances. We're going to hear from my friend and finance expert who doesn't hold back when it comes to talking money and finances. Before we get into the episode, let's hear a listener review. This is from Christine Sostar McLennan from Canada. A must listen for female product entrepreneurs. I recently discovered this podcast, and as a female product business owner, it is 100%. I haven't found a lot out there that speaks to this specific area, and I find that listening to these incredible stories, as well as the knowledge and education, is truly expansive. Tune in. Well, thank you so much, Christine. I'm so grateful for your review, and I'm super happy to hear that it's expansive for you. If you're listening and you haven't left a review yet, what are you waiting for? Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I'll be happy to give you a shout out. If you're loving these episodes and you want to get more discussion on these topics, head on over to my new Facebook group, the Productpreneur Community. You can search for it on Facebook or go to the link in the show notes. I'd love to see you on the inside. And now for today's episode. I was so happy to meet Melissa Houston, someone who's a real badass businesswoman and who I'm happy to call a friend. Melissa Houston is a chartered professional accountant, a business finance coach, a regular contributor at Forbes.com, and the host of the Think Like a CFO podcast. Melissa's passion is to help entrepreneurs understand the importance of knowing their business numbers, and she helps them set up a system using her signature CFO Money Method Framework. Melissa shares how you can improve your profits by looking inside your business and understanding how your business decisions are affecting your bottom line. When Melissa isn't helping entrepreneurs become better CFOs of their business, she can be found at the cottage with her husband Jamie, 2 teen children, and 3 dogs. So I'm so excited to share this episode. We dig into money mindset, money management, and so much more to profitably manage your product business. Now let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Oh my goodness, we're going to talk all about money, something that
Money. I love money.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What kind of businesses you work with and how you help them?
Absolutely. So I am a business finance coach, and I work with women entrepreneurs of any type of service-based or product-based business. And I work with them either one-on-one or through my course program. And I take them through the 4-step roadmap to financial freedom that I have created. And what that does is it teaches entrepreneurs how to manage their money confidently within their business.
That's amazing. Okay, we're going to dig into those 4 steps. How did you figure out that this is how you wanted to help entrepreneurs? Why do you do what you do?
Okay, that is a very long story, so buckle up. So I am a chartered professional accountant, and I have been in that work environment for over 20 years. But being an accountant is my second profession. So my first profession was actually being a social worker. So as soon as I graduated from high school, that's like all I ever wanted to do was help people. But after embarking on a very short-lived career, I realized that if I was going to be available for my clients and have a family of my own at some point, that was going to cause a lot of high burnout and stuff. So I was like, I rethought that plan and said, I think my future family is going to be more important to me. And I embarked on a second career of accounting, which was a total fluke. I don't really quite understand how I ended up there. I think my grade 10 high school business teacher told me I was good at business, and I thought, okay, I'll try that. So after working for about a good 10 years, working my way up the corporate ladder, I kind of realized, something was definitely missing. Like, I do enjoy working with numbers and I love the budgeting process and such, but I really missed working with people and really helping them. And I kept thinking, now, what can I do? What can I do? And then I realized I need to combine my really good skill set as a CPA and try to bridge that gap for entrepreneurs, because what happened was when I was working in public accounting, I did so many entrepreneurs books and tax returns and stuff. And they would come into the office to pick up their tax returns. And, we would sit down and give them extremely valuable advice, but you could tell that they didn't quite understand what we were telling them. And to me, that felt like such a huge waste because I knew we were telling them really good stuff to help their business. But if they didn't know how to implement it, it wasn't going to be a help to them. So having recognized that about 10 years ago, I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into business for myself and help entrepreneurs bridge that gap, get them more involved in their business finances, not only so they understand their finances, because your business finances goes way beyond completing a tax return. You can do so much with your numbers. And I really wanted to take that and show that to them, show them how to get involved, roll up their sleeves, get involved in their numbers and their business so that they could make more money in their business. There's so many benefits to knowing your numbers in business. And often I find women initially are, we have an odd relationship with money. And to try to break down that barrier and get them, in their business and taking control of their money so that they would essentially just be unstoppable entrepreneurs. That was my goal. So it took me a while to actually get the courage to get out on my own and start my business. But once I finally did, I haven't looked back. I've never been happier.
That's so amazing. It's funny that you say that women have this odd relationship with money. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, I think that as women, we have a lot of old tapes. I mean, especially like around my age. I'm Gen X. I'll give my age away there. And back when we were growing up, in the 70s and 80s, it was a very different time back then. And a lot of often, as women, we would hear, oh, you're no good with numbers. Oh, you're not going to be any success in your life. Like we're basically told that we have to have service-based jobs, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that, but we were never encouraged to do what we truly wanted to do. Like if we wanted to be an entrepreneur, that would be unheard of. It wouldn't be encouraged. Or if we wanted to be the CFO of a company, that would yet again, no, that's for men. Like that's what men do. So we often carry these money mindset issues. And it's not just, around your career. Like your money mindset issues are likely formed, very early in your life, like probably as early as your first memories. And, it could either be about, your parents' attitude towards money, like if they were fighting a lot about it in the house, or if it was always in abundance, or if it was just never spoken about and we were never to talk about it, like whatever your environment was in your home life definitely imprints you, especially at that young age. And it's also other people's attitudes. Like if you had, I don't know, let's say a neighbor or a friend's parent or something that said something to you like money is for greedy people, or if you have a lot of money, you're going to be a bad person, or, whatever messages that you're hearing from society, whoever, whatever is telling you this, you subconsciously carry these messages with you. And then, when you become an entrepreneur, you likely don't even realize that you have these money mindset issues, but then you find yourself being held back by something. And it takes a lot of digging and really being self-aware to come up with, the reasons why you're holding yourself back. And often that's how money coaches can help you, is by helping you discover and uncover and resolve any money mind limiting beliefs that you may have.
I do agree that women have sort of a different mindset on money. And I see that in different clients that I have as well. And it's definitely something that we need to work on. And I know I need to work on it as well. And it's so funny that you say growing up in the 70s and 80s. I don't remember. I don't remember ever being encouraged to become an entrepreneur, but I'm not sure if that it's just like hotter now than it was back then, or if it was a female versus male thing. But
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
that's a really good point. Like, there's so many things that limit us being, a woman or just, I don't know. Like, I know for me, I was always encouraged in my house to, be the best I could be, go, my dad always encouraged me and my sister to aim high, get a good education so we get good paying jobs. Like, everything was around money. Like, there was
Hmm.
definitely a money conversation in our house.
Right.
But he would never in a million years have encouraged us to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the same. I think it's
it was too
also,
risky.
yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, too
yes,
risky. Because I remember my parents always saying, where are you going to find a job? And, what industry is doing well? I remember I wanted to be an architect and then realized that, oh no, right now there's a recession. I shouldn't become an architect. So I
yes,
decided not to do that.
yes.
Yeah,
I know it's crazy how we think, right?
it is crazy, but I think things are changing. At least I hope.
Yeah.
I know I'm telling my children different things than my parents did. So,
Me too. But I mean,
yeah.
back then too, there was like, that stable job. They still had the idea that there were stable jobs out there and
Yes.
there were good pensions and good benefits to be had. And, once you had a job, you would have it for life. You
Right.
were set, you had the golden ticket. And that certainly hasn't worked out for most people these days.
No, no, that's not the case anymore at all, for sure.
Yeah.
And what do you find that business owners struggle with the most when it comes to money management in their business?
Everything. And I don't mean to sound, condescending or any such thing like that, because I have had my own struggles myself with money. But I find a lot of business owners, especially with women, they're so afraid of finding out what's going on behind the numbers and taking that emotional part of money out of the equation. As money is an extremely loaded topic. I mean, we were just touching on that. We have our money beliefs formed at such a young age, and if you're taking your data from your business and it's financial data and it's telling you whether, in a sense, whether your business is doing a good job or not, women tend to take that very personally
Hmm,
instead of just looking at it as data, and it's
right.
giving you feedback on what's going well and what could be improved on. So a lot of people tend to just ignore their numbers and figure if they have money coming in their cash account and they, struggle to pay their bills or whatever, but they're still paying them, then they're doing well enough. And I highly argue against that theory. Like once you have a financial plan in order, there's no stress, there's no freaking out about if you're going to be able to meet a bill payment or anything like that. And you're going to be so confident with your numbers, you're going to know that you can pay yourself a regular salary. You're going to know that you're going to have extra money in the bank once you get on this financial plan and you've been moving for a few months. And you're just going to know that every decision that you're making in your business, you're going to understand how it affects your profit line. So you'll know that if you're making good, profitable decisions for your business or not.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Knowledge is power, and just to
It
be
is.
ignorant about your finances is not the wisest decision. It's kind of like avoiding the problem or if there is a problem.
Yeah, and
So,
it's
yeah.
giving money too much control over you. And really, it's not the
Mm,
money that's controlling you, it's the emotions.
yeah, totally. Now, how do you help them overcome it?
Step by step. I mean, this is definitely, it's very overwhelming. And most of my clients, when they come to me, they are extremely overwhelmed. So we talk about mindset first, address any issues there. And then we go through the 4-step process. So, what I like to teach clients is, first of all, you need to understand your financial reports. Don't be afraid of them. Run those reports, read them, understand what they're telling you, understand the story that your numbers are telling you about your business. And then the second step is to create an operating budget. That sounds very dry. What I usually say is create a plan for your business. So what that means is you're going to, create a financial goal of, like, let's say you want your revenue targets to be 200,000 a year. You're going to plan that out throughout the 12 months of your fiscal year. And then you're going to break it down, how much do we need to sell of each product to achieve this? And then once you figure out those numbers, you're going to break it down even further. Okay, what's it going to cost me to sell these numbers? Include your salary in there, include every single cost that you have to run your business. And then you look at what's left over. If you don't have a profit, then there's an issue. You need to either up your revenue numbers or cut some expenses, but make sure you've got a profit there, because it's ridiculous to have a business without a profit. It won't survive. And then the third step is, now that you've got your budget, you don't just say, okay, I made my budget, I'm going to go away now. You're going to monitor your progress against your budget every single month, and no excuses there. You have to do it every month so that if there's any problems, you can identify them earlier. So you're essentially saving money, because you're not letting these problems that are either, a money drain or you're not making enough money or whatever the issue is, you're not saving that till the end of the year to figure out. You're going to take care of it immediately. And then you can ultimately save, like, I mean, the numbers are crazy how much you can save. I'm not even going to wager a guess for everybody, but I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars. And then the fourth step is to manage your cash flow. So I always teach, look 6 to 8 weeks ahead of schedule and manage what's coming in and what's going out and the timing of it, to ensure that you've got the cash covered in the bank when the bills are due. And then that reduces a lot of stress for entrepreneurs because quite
Mhm.
often the stress comes from not knowing where the money's coming from or how to plan anything out, and it's just unnecessary stress. So once you've got these 4 steps in place, what happens is ultimately your confidence has been built. You know what's going on in your business. I mean, you are the CEO
Mm.
of your business, you own your business, so nobody's going to know your business better than you do. And you have a deeper, more intimate knowledge of your business. So, how can you argue with that?
That sounds incredible. I love that 4-step process and the way you break it down. Are there any tools you advise people to use? Like, I don't know if it's, QuickBooks or whatever it is to help you with figuring out your numbers?
Absolutely. I mean, QuickBooks is great, but it really just depends on what stage you are in your business. So if you're just starting out or, you've got a smaller business and you haven't grown it yet, and, maybe Wave, which is a free option, it's great software out there. Maybe that does an adequate job for you. That's great. I always use Excel spreadsheets for my budgets. That I find an essential tool. But as you grow and you want to import your budgets into your software and stuff, I always find QuickBooks is the best accounting program to start with because it's going to grow with you. So if you've got, big goals for your business, you might as well get set up with QuickBooks or something equally as strong right from the beginning and, have it grow with you in your business.
Okay, that's great to know. And for product businesses, how important is it for them to know their numbers and where can they get started? The
I would
same
say it's
process?
definitely more important for product-based businesses to know their numbers because it's extremely important to know every product that you're selling if you are capturing a profit on it. So, what I recommend for product owned businesses is take each offer that you have and break it down into what you charge for your product and all the costs that go into creating this product. And that would include shipping it out, like everything includes your estimated time, because you have to charge for your time on these products, shipping, creating the materials or ordering them, whatever goes into it, and ensure that you've got a healthy profit margin there. And for each product, you may have your favorite products that you sell and you think that because you sell a lot of them you're doing fantastic, but once you get an idea of which products are the most profitable, it may be shocking for you to learn that you're barely making any money on the products that you're selling and that you're focusing on. So when you know your numbers, it allows you to know which offers are the best ones to be promoting. And those are going to be the ones that are more profitable.
Yeah, that's so true. You could have a product that sells really well, but costs a lot to make or whatever. And so you need to make sure you're making a
Exactly.
profit
And if you're
there.
losing money on this product that you're selling, it's not doing you any favors because essentially you're just spinning your wheels. I often say it's like driving blindly. Would you get in your car blindfolded and start driving? No, because chances are you'd drive yourself in a ditch. Well, same thing with the business, right? If
Yeah.
you're operating it, you don't know what your numbers are telling you, you're going to go down the road to bankruptcy.
Right, right, exactly.
And, I don't want to instill fear in people, but I've been in this industry for over 20 years. I've seen it all. I have seen businesses that are 7, 8 figure businesses, and they went bankrupt for the number one reason is financial mismanagement.
Wow.
hmm So there's
Scary.
definitely a lot of benefits to knowing your numbers. And the
Mm.
benefit in one word is profit.
And what habits should or could these product businesses adapt so that they keep on top of their numbers and they have a really great system to put in place?
Definitely the habit of having a money date with your business at least once a week. I'm a huge fan of
Oh,
that. You check in with your business, see what's going on with your finances, check your bank accounts, check, make sure there's nothing weird happening so you can identify it at an earlier stage if there is like any, sudden bank charges or whatever. And this is, once you've got your financial plan in place. I mean, first and foremost, get that financial plan in place. But at the very least, I mean, if people find it too much to do weekly, at the very least, do it monthly.
yeah, a weekly. Wow, I was surprised at that. Monthly, definitely. Although I would be surprised if people even do monthly, So that is great to at least do monthly and
At
then
least do
potentially
monthly.
weekly is what you're saying.
I always check on my business and my personal finances on a daily basis.
Whoa, daily, really?
Daily. It's actually one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning.
No way.
Yeah, I go into my bank balances, make sure that, so if I'm expecting payments, make sure that they land in my account. If I'm expecting,
Mm.
if I had bills that should have gone out, I make sure they go out. That way I'm on top of things. I know exactly how much I have in my account every day. As I listen to myself, I sound like a control freak, but I'm on top of it.
You are, yeah. I need to learn some things from you because year end is just a nightmare for my for me.
Well, and that's it. When you start monitoring your finances on a monthly basis, it makes year end so much easier and less stressful.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely touche there. And do you think that entrepreneurs should just basically as they go, log in their receipts, or is there a better system of like doing everything monthly?
Well, this goes back to, the weekly money date too. I mean, if you're doing your own books, checking in with your books on a weekly basis and getting everything up to date is fantastic. That is a really good practice. But yet again, at the very least, every month you have to do this because once you've entered all your receipts and your invoices and all your books are up to date and stuff, then you run the financial reports because running them before that happens, it means nothing. You need accurate financial data in your software to get that foundation for your reports. So,
Mm.
like I said, I hugely recommend. I don't care what size your business is, whether you're small or you're multiple seven figure. You need to do that every month.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And are you a big believer in hiring some of these things, like getting a bookkeeper, getting an accountant?
I am a huge believer. If you don't know how to do your own bookkeeping, absolutely get a bookkeeper, but make sure that they are qualified because I have seen so many disasters with bookkeeping.
Wow.
When you think that you're like, quite often people will look for the best deal with a bookkeeper, but that's not actually going to turn out to be your best deal. What
Mm.
happens is you get a bookkeeper that doesn't know what they're doing and they make a lot of mistakes in your books throughout the year, so that when you do take your books to an accountant at the end of the year, they are stuck with the mess and they have to clean it up. And that can end up charging you like two, three times more than what you paid your bookkeeper. So I
Mm.
always tell people invest in a good bookkeeper because that will save you tons of money in the long term. I have seen it too many times and I have worked on those books too many times. It's very frustrating for an accountant. It's easier
Mm.
to start clean than it is to go back and figure out what somebody did as mistakes. And when there's several of them, this could take like, I mean, there's times where I've spent 20 hours on books that should have been done very quickly. And then for the
Mm.
tax accountant part, I am a firm believer that when it's time to get your taxes done, whether you're incorporated or if you're self-employed, get it done by a professional because these professionals have the knowledge to not only make sure that you are completing your tax return effectively and accurately, but they give you so much advice on tax saving strategies that save you tons of money in the long run. So when you really invest in those professionals, it's a really good return on investment. And then for, an accountant day-to-day help, like that's sort of what my program addresses because it's like if you can't afford to hire your own accountant throughout the year to give you advice, you need to get in there and learn the numbers yourself, right? So and then when you get to the point where you're just too busy, you're growing, you don't have the time for that, you can always hire like a virtual CFO or, whatever, however you're growing your business. If eventually you get a full-time CFO, great, whatever. But never check out of your finances. Like it's always okay to outsource because we know that when we're outsourcing, we're spending less time on what we don't love, doing what we do love, and we're generating revenue. But if you check out of your finances, then that leaves you vulnerable and it leaves your company at risk. So this is your company, this is your baby, and you should always know what's going on financially in your business.
Ooh, that's so good. Yes, I completely agree with outsourcing the accounting, bookkeeping for sure, but I don't do that as much. But when I think about accounting, I made a mistake once of not outsourcing that, thinking that, oh, this year's totally easy. Nothing really happened. And oh, I learned like I had to pay some penalties and interest based on the mistakes that I had made in that return. And every year since then, I've always used a professional accountant who
Yeah,
knows what they're doing.
yeah,
So, yeah, it could be expensive if you don't go that route.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And this is a big one, when should product business owners start drawing a salary from their business?
right away. Whether you're meeting your targets or not, that's not the point. The point is that you're establishing what, like, the minimum of what you need to pay yourself to live, right? So then you have to factor that into your revenue goals. So once you build your budget, you'll know exactly how much you need to be bringing in for revenue. And I understand that, there are many times, especially when we're starting out, where we don't meet our goals. And that's just part of being an entrepreneur, right? So if you can't afford to pay yourself that month, unfortunately, that's a reality, then, you have to get creative on paying the bills. But if you factor in that salary throughout the year, and you've got the highs and lows in your business that go out throughout the year, but when you're on a high, if you just pay yourself the salary that you've budgeted for and keep the rest in the bank, that will cover you through when you're on the lows. So I'm a firm believer in always budgeting for what you need to live and plan on paying yourself that, and don't pay what's left over, or don't think, woohoo, I had a great year, I'm going to go, or a great month, I'm going to go spend that money,
Yeah.
because that's the worst you can do, because we all know there's ups and downs.
What about though when, entrepreneurs have to, especially product businesses, they have a big order and they've got to fund a whole bunch of inventory, for example. So then they've got to take out of their salary, but they've also got to maybe dip into their savings and invest in that inventory. What would you say to that? Because that's sometimes the case where a lot of product businesses say in the first few years, I didn't really
It's
make
tough.
a salary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. And for sure, you have to measure the risk and reward of these orders, right?
Right.
So, and that's why there's a lot of risk in growing your business too fast as well, because people think, oh, my business is growing, this is fantastic. But there's a lot of risk with when you grow too fast.
Right.
It gets very expensive. So you really have to approach every order and say, okay, I'm taking on this much risk. If I take on this order, I'm going to have to pull money from other places that I didn't anticipate, but will it pay off? Am I relatively certain it's going to pay off and it's going to be worth my investment or worth taking that risk?
Right. That's true. I'm sure it depends case by case. And what are some of the biggest mistakes you see when it comes to managing your money in a business?
I would say the biggest mistake, well, I mean, the really overarching biggest mistake is not knowing your numbers. And that just sounds very like, that's huge. I would say the biggest mistake is just depending on your bank account to know what's going on in your business. Like, you think that because you've got cash coming in, then you're doing well. And if you think that you've got cash going out, then you're not doing so well. There's more information, way more information than what your bank account is telling you. So people who depend on just their bank account, I think that is a large mistake.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And money mindset, that's become a really big topic lately. How much does money mindset play into the equation typically?
I would say money mindset is a huge issue. And as we touched on it earlier, a lot of times you could be carrying around a money mindset issue that you didn't know you had, right? And like, as entrepreneurs, we really need to be self aware, right? That's one thing that we're always doing. We're always learning about ourselves so that we're not blocking ourselves. So, money mindset definitely is huge, but you need to be on top of it and always check in with yourself, making sure that you don't have any mindset blocks. And with money, as we said earlier, too, like, that is an emotionally charged topic. Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't have any particular book that I would recommend or anything, but I do feel that the mindset is a muscle that you need to use every day. So, what I use is just media. Like, I'll look for articles, really interesting articles every day. I'll read about money every day. I'm always learning and growing about money, or any other issue that I would have a mindset in, but in particular money. And just, make sure that you exercise that muscle every day so that you're in touch with what's going on. And if you see any mindset issues surfacing, you can deal with them. Like, I know for me, I was in business for a few months before I realized that I had a money mindset issue about sales, because my parents always talked about how, oh, those salespeople, all they do is rip you off.
Mm.
Right. So then I'm like carrying around this issue that I didn't even realize I had. But once I realized it, I went to a mindset coach, I worked it out, and I released it. And that's just all you can do, is just be self-aware and constantly work through the issues and release them.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting what kinds of things we have in our mindset that we don't even know about until, yeah, like you said, salespeople they're all kind of whatever. And I
They're
would think,
thieves.
yeah, I think back to what my parents would say, and that's exactly it. Oh my gosh, that's funny. And one thing I hear about a lot, like, okay, improving your money mindset and not feeling like you need to kind of like save pennies all the time and sort of feel like you're worth it to spend whatever it is. But at the same time, you want to not be irresponsible about spending money when you shouldn't be. So how do you know? It's kind of like a fine line. Like, how do you know whether you're either being irresponsible or whether you actually can afford something?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I know that there's a lot of talk out there, especially on the online space, about money mindset coaches and, live in abundance and all this. To me, it's nonsense, right? You're going to attract money because you're thinking about, 10 positive thoughts about money a day. I respectfully disagree with that. To me, you're going to attract money because you put in the work.
Mm.
Like you can't just attract money. And you need a plan for that money. So what I recommend to people on their personal finance side of it, not just business, well, for business too, for both, is think about, list your values and list what it is that you want to get out of life, because money is a tool to get us experiences, right? So whether sending your kids to post-secondary education and paying for it is a priority to you, or if it's annual family vacations, or if it's buying yourself a new bag every month, like, set your goals so that they're intentional, and make sure that they're aligned with your values, because once we're out of alignment with our values, that's where everything goes a little crazy, right, emotionally. So set those values, create your budget, create your plan, and then you'll know if you can afford something or not. And if you know what you're saving for, you've got a plan and a direction. So quite often people don't budget their money. And this happens often with high income earners. There's no budget there because they're like, okay, I'm just going to, pay my bills, which I know my salary can cover, and then I'm going to blow my money. And it's like, that, first of all, gets you into debt because you're not managing, because everybody has a limit as to how much money they can spend before they're overspending. And then there's no direction for the money. So you're not putting it into RSPs or 401ks, wherever your audience is, whatever country you're living in. You're not taking advantage of these tax saving opportunities. You're not taking advantage of saving your money, preparing yourself for retirement. Like, there's all sorts of things that we have to do for our financial health. It's not just about living in the moment and spending your money. You need to prepare yourself. So that's my advice to people out there.
Yeah, that's a very good piece of advice about being a bit more pragmatic and planning.
Yeah, because when you have a plan, then you'll know if you can afford something or not.
Right.
You have to be accountable to yourself ultimately.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, this was really helpful, Melissa, and really so eye-opening and made me think about a few things as well. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to do this interview.
Oh, me too. And where can they come to you if they want to ask you more about this and find you?
Absolutely. So I actually have a podcast called Think Like a CFO. And I also write for Forbes. I have my own column. So I post things usually Tuesdays and Thursdays on Forbes. And then you can also visit me at my website at melissahoustoncpa.com. And there's a contact me button there. You can either set up a 15-minute meeting with me or send me an email, and we'll talk.
Awesome. And I think you also have a course. Is that correct?
I do, actually. And my course is launching the first week of May, and it's called the CFO Money Method. And it's a group program, actually. So yeah, like I take a group of people and we go through the 4 pillars of the program as a group, and you're supported. And then there's the Facebook group community and stuff. So if anybody's interested, I would highly recommend they check it out.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Productpreneur Podcast. If you loved this episode, we'd be so grateful if you could take a sec to subscribe, share it, and review it on Apple Podcasts. Your review will help more women build their own dream product business. By the way, if you have any feedback, comments, or questions, email me at info@nicoledelarzac.com. Until next time, keep dreaming up those product ideas.